Why is there not been a Muppets adventure game?
I was thinking that too. I really was. I was like, the Muppets would make a pretty fun. Like, I mean, all of their things are adventure related, right? Like all their movies are
adventure
to fame. Yeah, they go on adventure. Muppet Caper is a heist. Muppets Take Manhattan is like Broadway. Like they're always on an adventure. And
they experience mysteries and chaos and then have to solve them.
Yeah.
Like that seems fucking prime for an adventure game. But all they've ever had are the worst platforming games you've ever played.
I swear there was also like a, gosh, this was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It wasn't an adventure game and it wasn't a platformer. It was like one of those experience games, like storybook. You remember those, right?
Okay. Yeah. I've never seen a Muppets one of those, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I've had a few of them. Like I had one for like Toy Story. And I don't want to say they're like living books because you can interact with them. Like I remember like interacting in the Toy Story one, for example.
I spent a lot of time playing Muppets Adventure Chaos at the Carnival. Which was a Nintendo game that was very, very bizarre. It was like a bunch of like, everybody had their own stage. Like Fozzie, you would walk around a maze made out of ice cream, collecting bow ties and candy. And somebody had like a river raft adventure. I think Kermit had a river raft adventure. Every Muppet had their own little adventure. And they were all so hard, I don't think I ever beat any of them.
This looks horrible. Like, I'm looking up the screen caps. This is just a game, like a skin for a game, and they're like, Muppets. Let's just put Muppets in it. Yeah,
it's like it's like they went to their, like, who actually made this game? Like, who was the... High Tech Expressions. It was like High Tech Expressions went to their development team and were like, okay, what games do we have under development? A river raft adventure? Okay, so now Kermit Raft, and it's gonna be a 15-minute experience. Okay, what's this one? Bad. Oh, the Candy Maze. Oh, it's now called Fozzie's Maze. it's a 10-minute experience. Like everybody who was working on a game, they just had to throw them all into Muppets Carnival. Yeah, there was like a Gonzo. You were flying a spaceship through like an obstacle course, and it was like that sort of game where you have thrust and you have to like control the thrust. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm very good at controlling the thrust, so yes. What? You walked me right into it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess I did.
Should I start the music there?
I guess so.
I'll start the music. Everyone, Matt.
Okay, all right. You go. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I can't do it now. It's gone. The moment's gone. Everyone, Pushing Up Roses here with me. Wow, I can't.
I really fucking threw you off. I was gonna just start talking about Muppets Chaos at the Carnival again. Like it felt like I wasn't done, and I was like, I was too excited to talk about Muppets Chaos at the Carnival to even wait for the intro.
I'm just very insulted. I'm just extremely insulted right now that the game is so bad.
What I need to say is, you pointed out while the music was playing, while the intro was playing, that none of these things look like Carnival's stuff.
No, they don't at all.
And I just want to how there's no world in which you go to a carnival and you go on a 10-minute raft ride down a raging river and be like, okay, no, now I'm 10 minutes away from it. Can somebody drive me back to the carnival?
Just get lost along the way. They never returned. They just got lost in the river.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of our features here at the carnival is we send you away
forever
into space or down a river.
Also, the first screen cap that even comes up of gameplay
Yeah.
It's like you're just on a random brick wall. Yeah, remember all those brick walls at the carnival?
Yeah, I don't remember that stage, to be honest.
Maybe you didn't get there.
It's like it's like it looks like an evil scientist at the top.
Yeah.
And Kermit is seductively squatting over to platforms next to Miss Piggy.
Yes. Yep, that's what I'm looking at too. Oh yeah, remember that weird science guy from the Muppets?
I know.
Isn't Bunsen? Yeah, it's not Bunsen. It's some weirdo.
This is what happens when we there was a I'm looking at more screenshots. Animals one was a bumper cars thing. But it was like a race thing. And I think you had to like I don't remember. I think you had to bump into stuff for points. I don't know. It was a wild game. It wasn't good, and it was so hard I'd just play it over and over. Remember, that's how games used to be?
Oh yeah.
They were just too hard, so you'd play them over and over and you wouldn't have fun.
I did that all the time, honestly.
Yeah.
But especially with console games. With adventure games, not so much. I think I always legitimately enjoyed even the harder adventure games, like even King's Quest 3. But with console games, I'm just like,
It's funny how we barely had a cold open. We just kind of like started the show by talking about video games and then failed at introducing ourselves.
Yeah, did you know, you guys, that this is Save Your Game with Pushing Up Roses and Matt Aukamp?
Hi. Yeah, that it is that. Welcome.
We talk about video games.
Well, welcome in. Have you noticed people saying what? This is a thing that I have noticed recently, and it wasn't always the case. When I was a kid, no one ever said, welcome in. But now at every store and every restaurant I walk into, somebody says, hey, welcome in.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I remember people saying...
Is that like a Pennsylvania thing? Because in Chicago, it's just like, hey, what's up?
No, it was when I went to Louisiana, I noticed it for the first time. I was like, oh, everyone down here says welcome in everywhere you go. This is interesting.
Nice.
And then I came home, and everyone in fucking Pennsylvania is saying welcome in.
Maybe you brought it back with you.
What changed? Why did suddenly everybody start saying welcome in?
I've never said that ever, and I never hear it in Chicago. So I was like, hey, how's it going?
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into the podcast.
Welcome in.
That's
what she said.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You're really on a fucking roll today.
This is why I have fans.
Hey, what have you been playing?
I haven't. But
Okay.
for good reason, because this week we actually dove into some of our suggestions. We actually get quite a number of suggestions every week from our viewers, and some of them just really stand out to us. So we did tackle a few of those suggestions. So I played 2 games, Matt played 2 games, and that is what I've been playing. And I'm happy to say that I enjoyed both the games I played.
That's awesome. I enjoyed both the games I played too. I haven't finished either of them, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad.
But I have played things outside of those games, so maybe I've been maybe this is a dereliction of duty.
No, because here's the thing though. Here's the thing with suggestions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think if we are suggested something and we're like trying it out, we reserve the right to be like, all right, this is not for me. Here's why. And here's my experience, with that game. Right. So if you didn't get around to finishing it, that's fine,
And, but I think I will. We'll talk about it when I get there. I think I will finish them. Here's what I have been playing, though. I do want to talk about what I've been playing. First of all, I talked a lot about Fallout New Vegas, and I want to give people a suggestion. If they are intrigued, if they're interested, or if they're thinking they've played it before and are thinking going back and they're playing on PC, I want to suggest there's this website that's just Viva New Vegas. It is I think it's like vivanewvegas.modding.com or something. If you type in Viva New Vegas, you're gonna find it into like a search engine. Anyway, what it does is it's a modding guide, like a guide to modding the game, so that because it is like it's by Obsidian, but it's like a Bethesda kind of game, and so like a Bethesda game, it crashes all the fucking time.
Oh God!
So its first thing is it's a guide to fixing all those bugs.
Yeah.
That these types of open world Bethesda style games always ship with, and then cleaning up the graphics and cleaning up some of the weird UI stuff that's like out of date, and then adding features that are more current, like a sprint button or dynamic crosshairs, stuff like that. And then you can keep going. You can like add some extra content that's like that was originally cut from the game so that it could fit on consoles and stuff like that. Very cool. But what the guide does is it gives you a like just very base level, step by step instruction on on what mods to choose, where to find them, how to install them, and how to test them, make sure they run, and that literally anybody can follow. So like if you're intimidated by mods, this is not intimidating at all, and it makes the game so much better. So that's my recommendation.
Oh, nice. I love a recommendation.
The game I've been playing is a game called, and I did not know this game was coming out.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to Google it.
I discovered it the day before it came out.
Wow.
I just randomly stumbled across it on Steam. Actually, while we were recording, and I was looking up something for our segment.
That's how I find all my games these days too, is when we are Googling to look up something and then like other things pop up in suggestions.
This is what happened. And I saw this thing and I was like, oh, what's that? I'll just click on that and I'll click wish list and I'll look at it after the show. And I was like, oh, it comes out tomorrow. It is called The Abandoned Planet. And it is a first person pixel art point and click adventure game that's like a combination of just like a normal point and click adventure game and then like a Myst kind of game.
Yes, I've seen screen caps for this. It looks gorgeous.
There's
just something about it.
It is so pretty. The UI is beautiful. You're this woman who gets trapped on an abandoned planet, and you're walking around like the ruins of this old civilization. And the puzzles are not nearly as hard as like Myst or something like that. So if that turns you off at all, if you're interested in the art style and you're interested in our recommendations, don't let the Myst of it turn you off, because
I was just gonna say maybe it has the aesthetic appeal, the atmospheric appeal of Myst, but not the insane of Myst.
And it is that sort of thing where you're walking around, you're finding devices and locks and things like that you have to understand in order to utilize. But you also have a character that is narrating, maybe a little too much for my taste, but so it doesn't feel so lonely, because you have a character that is constantly talking to you, and a character that's sharing her observations out loud, which usually align with the observations you just made. So it's not like I didn't feel like she was giving me too many hints, maybe pushing me in the right direction a little more often than I would prefer. But it's really, really great. Also, and this is something weirdly that's going to come up during this podcast a lot, the rare instance of a black protagonist in an adventure game, which happens so rarely and for no reason that I can discern. I do not know why that's the case. But
I definitely have things to say about that in my for the game that I've been playing, for sure.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. It is rare.
But yeah, it's really, really good. I highly suggest. It's called The Abandoned Planet. It only has 34 reviews on Steam. This should be being talked about by all adventure game fans. Like, this is, I don't know why this isn't number one on the top of all of our tongues.
This kind of atmosphere is what I loved about Myst. And y'all know, not a Myst fan at all. But I always love, this is going to sound insane. I always loved booting up Myst because of the atmosphere. Just because I wanted to be on that island that I didn't even think you could get off of. I didn't know there were other islands.
Yeah.
I did it, Myst.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that is the case. It really feels good to navigate this world. And I was doing it and granted, I have played so many puzzle and adventure games. I know I fly through them a little faster than the average person. But
that's because that's your jam, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I was moving through this I didn't find myself stuck or stalling almost at all. So I think people are going the pace of this game is great. I never stuck in an area longer than I wanted to.
I like to hear that.
So, before we start talking about the games that you, the listeners, recommended, I'm going to need Roses to throw on a little theme.
Okay, are you ready? Ready for the theme? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Heck yeah!
Playdate with Matt.
Yeah, it's Playdate with Matt.
It's such a jam.
It's a fucking yeah, isn't that a bop? Yeah, it's a segment within the podcast Save Your Game where Matt talks about the adventure games that he's played on his Playdate. I finished Mars After Midnight.
Oh, okay. You know what? I don't remember you saying you didn't finish it. Or maybe I do remember that.
Yeah, I think I said I would come back and give everybody an update. So I did finish it, and it is interesting. So just a quick recap. Mars After Midnight, much like Papers, Please, you are basically guarding a door and deciding to let people in or not let people in based on criteria. In this case, you're guarding the door to a self-help group on Mars, and you bar or allow people to go through based on if they fit the thing that the self-help group is there for. And it'll be things like angry cyclopses or small insects wielding knives. So I beat it.
You said this was the Lucas Pope game, right?
Yes.
That's what. Okay, I was just making sure. You did mention Papers, Please, and I'm like, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay.
So it was very adorable. So I started to get towards the end, and remember how I don't know if you remember, but I told you that every night the Martian dreams of things on Earth.
Yes.
Like the Great Pyramids or the
you said, and I started to get kind of sad about it, and I haven't even played this game. I'm like, it sounds sad.
And the off-colony ticket that this one guy was selling was like $10,000 or $100,000, an amount that I was like, I can't ever afford this.
Yeah.
So seeing that happen, when the man started selling a teddy bear, I was like, fuck it, I'll just buy the teddy bear. And he gives the teddy bear to his little robot friend. And now, when you're still dreaming of Earth, the robot starts dreaming of all the fun things he wants to do with his teddy bear.
Oh,
like go skiing, or go on a joyride, or ride a bike. And it is so cute and sweet. And then, when you finally get through, when you finally help all the Martians, and this is going to get into spoilers, but again, I think a lot of you aren't going to get to play this game, so I'm going to spoil the hell out of it. The salesman is like, hey, for a loyal customer, like one day you just get a delivery and you're like, oh, I didn't buy anything, and it says for a loyal customer, and it's the ticket off colony, and it's very sweet. So you help everybody, and then you take the ticket. And here was what was very surprising. It takes you to the Earth colony on Mars, and then you basically go through another series of helping people. So the game had a whole extra segment that I didn't know about.
That's nice. I love those kind of things where it's like, oh, it's not over yet. Yay!
Instead of weird Martians, there were weird Martians, but there was also like humans now and robots, and there was
fuck that. I don't want to help human beings. I only want to assist aliens.
my you had to, there was like a vampire club, so you like had a you had like an x-ray scanner to make sure that they had fangs. It was really cool. And then, and then obviously the ending, if you can't tell, is that same pattern repeats, and he gives you
That's
a ticket
really
to Earth.
adorable.
I don't know what is the theme of this game, right? Like, it is somebody who is helping everybody to solve their own problems. He's like making it his mission to solve the problems of the people on these Mars colonies, and his one issue is he wants to get to Earth. Oh my god. And there's this moment, so if there's 120 people to help in the Mars colony, and then there's like 50 or something people to help in the Earth colony, on the way there's a sweet little thing where it pops up and it's like, Earth, 8 million people need help. And it's a little bit of a poignant way to end. But I don't know. Yeah, I haven't fully digested its themes yet, but it's sweet. It was fun. Some of the support groups I liked better than others. There was one that was very funny where it was something about being immune to wind. So you had this.
Oh man, I wish I had that. Are you serious? Immune to wind?
You have this big fan, and somebody knocks at the door, and you turn on the fan, and if they stay still, you let them in, and if they don't, funny. They fly off the screen. So imagine just going up and knocking on a door, and somebody's like, "Okay, hold on," and a giant fan turns on, and you get blown all the way down the street. That was really good. And then there's ones that I didn't like. I don't like crude stuff.
You don't?
I don't. I'm fine with profane stuff. I'm fine with cursing. I don't mind sexual content, but yucky stuff, crude stuff, I don't like.
Yucky stuff. Okay, so got it.
There's one that was like farty party.
I see. Okay, I see.
And you had to wait for the person to fart 3 times.
It's like toilet humor. You're talking about toilet humor.
Toilet humor, yeah. I'm not a big fan of it. But, anyway. It was a great game. The other game I played was Pulpergeist.
Okay.
Like Poltergeist, but with the word pulp in the front. Now, this game was very strange. It is another one of these Playdate style, like, when you don't point and click, what do you call a point and click game? When you go around looking at things and gathering inventory and using the inventory on things
just an adventure game, right?
I guess, yeah. So it's just, so it was a game like that. You're a detective, you get called to a house where the entire family, I guess, has gone missing. Their son went missing, and then the rest of the family, I guess, disappeared, maybe. And you find the ghosts of the family scattered throughout the house, and you got to go around and solve a bunch of, again, they'd be point and click puzzles if you could point and click, but you basically just walk into things and press the A button, and it's like, oh, you found a hammer, and then you open up your inventory, pick up hammer, and walk into something else, and it's like you used hammer on nail, whatever, right? And you're trying to basically solve the problems of each of these ghosts, which are members of the family, and then remind them of their son. And then the ghosts disappear, and then you have to look for their son. He like crawled into a well and then got stuck and then died down there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you have to save him. Well, you don't save him. You just find his bones, you bring them back, you bury them, and then it turns out that the entire family had been cursed. They'd sold their souls because of their grief over the missing boy. It was fine.
I was going to say it looks, I don't know, it's giving me some kind of like extreme old-timey vibe. Why did I say old-timey? Not old-timey, but like it's giving me almost text adventure vibes with the way, even though it's not a text adventure, it is graphic. But I don't know, there's something about it. There was just so many text-based games kind of in the similar vein of like you're in a house, like Mystery House as an example.
And it did really feel that way, right? Yeah, it felt like these old-fashioned text games where you are in a haunted house. Like, that's just so common.
Yes, it is.
And yeah, and like the other sort of, again, this kind of adventure game, inventory-based adventure games that I played on the Playdate, it's almost got like an Atari-looking graphics. You're like,
yeah, it does.
You're like top-down isometric, but everything's
good, my favorite.
Your character is like 20 pixels smashed together, and you just have to assume that is what a human looks like.
I assume just because of the title, you're playing like a noir, a hard-boiled character, pulp,
Yeah, and that doesn't really come through.
Okay.
People call you a detective, you are a detective, but the pulp style doesn't really come through.
Oh, that's too bad. That's what I would want.
The weirdest thing about it is the epilogue, which is after you, and there's some interesting things going on here. Like there are some interesting puzzles, there are some interesting uses of the technology. You don't use the crank at all, but
okay.
Anyway, the epilogue is like it's almost as long as the game, and it is like it's like a series of platforming challenges and like timing based platforming game things.
Was it like, do you find it that it was padding?
I don't think it was padding because they didn't need to put it in there at all. I think it was just, I think maybe the person just had a couple game ideas and smashed them together, or it's hard to tell what was in their brain. The story resolves through the epilogue. So arguably, it's not an epilogue. It's just the second chapter.
Interesting.
But it jumps into like these platforming challenges that I didn't really enjoy.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So that's Pulpergeist. And that is Playdate with Matt.
Playdate with Matt.
I'm glad you love this song so much.
Roses. It's so good. I don't have a song? Why don't I have a song?
You have to have a song.
Fair.
I still think our listeners need to make us a song for, and we'll talk about this when we do it, but we need to make us a song for the ranking every adventure game episode or segment.
I think somebody should just make me a song.
And just make
for me.
It's just, if you want to see Roses do a specific segment, if you have a segment for the show in mind, make a song for it, and then Roses will want to play it so badly that she'll just do the segment.
That's true. You know what? Matt knows me very well. This works. I will literally do any segment, even if it's on stuff I don't like. Like, even if it's like, we just want Roses to play Myst. Fine. I'll give you what you want. It's not going to be a fun time, but...
so funny. Roses.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about a game called Voodoo Detective?
Yes, I do.
All right, let's prank our Paxatinos.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Save Your Game. I'm Pushing Up Roses. This is Matt Aukamp.
Hey!
I hope you all had a great break. During the break, I actually decided that yes, we are going to talk about Voodoo Detective. We're going to do that. But I would first, before we do that, I would like to talk about the other suggested game that I had played first. And that was There Is No Game, Wrong Dimension. And I think you've played this game, right, Matt?
Yeah. Have you ever played the first There Is No Game?
No, but I did. Okay. I know it's short, and I did look it up, and I saw where the inspiration came from.
Okay. Yeah. It was like a game jam game.
Yes. And then it kind of like evolved almost into this full-fledged, interesting, a hybrid of games. So Do you remember the text I sent you when I started playing it?
He said, I don't know about this game.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I like this. And the reason is because I didn't quite realize that the game was going to pay homage to different genres. And that's why we got it as a suggestion, because the game does have adventure game elements to them. In fact, I would say it all is, except the first part is Myst-like. So if you guys haven't played this game, it's very clever. You know, you enter into this game program where the program is talking to you and trying to say, there's no game, do not start the game, get out of the game. And it's trying to do everything it can to get you to exit the game. Yeah. And so it's in chapters. So the first chapter I thought was more of a Myst style game. That's kind of where the homage was, I felt. It was like more logical puzzles.
Oh, because it's logic puzzles. Yeah, I mean, the first chapter is all, you're just in the opening screen. You're just in the title screen, and every puzzle and piece of inventory you need is somewhere in the the title screen.
Yeah, and I did like it. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked it. But also, I'm like, I don't want to play an entire game that is this kind of puzzle. I really don't. Like, I appreciate it's very Jackbox Games writing. It's clever. It's fun and it's engaging.
That's interesting. Boy, Jackbox game writing is an interesting way to say it. Yeah.
But that I realized quickly that this is not my type of gameplay. However, once I got through that first chapter, it started paying homage to different games. So then I found myself in backstage of an adventure game, which I thought was fantastic. It's really funny.
It's so good. That's what when you asked me about it, or when you said that, when you were like, I don't know about this game, I was like, I'm going to wait until she gets to the Sherlock Holmes point and click game before I respond.
Yes. And then I really started to, I guess, understand what they were doing with the game. And then it gets even better from there, because then it goes into a Zelda homage. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's kind of like scrutinizing some of the stupider parts of these, some of the less playable parts of these games, and kind of making a small commentary on it. And it's funny and it's fun as well. Like, the puzzles are fun. And yeah, I have not finished this game yet. It's actually taking me a while. I don't know if I'm just dumb. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But this is a game where you can't die, but you can if you do a puzzle wrong, you have to restart. At least in the Zelda area, I find that there's a lot of restarting.
The Zelda game, it makes fun of like microtransaction stuff, right?
It does. Yes. That's even next chapter after that. So like the game program that you're in, it's so interesting. It keeps turning into a different genre of game. Okay. And the program that you're speaking to is like, oh, that was the type of game I was meant to be before the developers left me. It's very funny. It's very clever to see all these like little game. So yeah, after the Zelda game, it turns into like a DLC, like pay to play type of. It's very very funny.
And like a free to play, pay to win, and it is like it's that same Zelda game, right?
Yes,
it's the same Zelda game, only they add a bunch of ads and microtransactions to it. And there's like ads for Papers, Please in it. And there's an ad for Parappa the Rappa.
That's funny. It was a weird roller coaster for me, because I'm like, this is not the type of game that I think that I'm going to enjoy. And that's too bad, because I think it's clever in concept. And then when it got going, when I saw it do what it was doing, and it paid homage to adventure point and clicks, let's say, and then the Zelda games, and then making fun of just all these quirks and eccentricities in game dev.
Yeah.
I ended up really enjoying it. And I think I would recommend it just as a fun time, to be honest. It's very stimulating. So just keep in mind, I don't think this is a very laid back, casual game. I felt like I really had to think about kind of what I was doing. So I would say it's a more stimulating game,
Right.
especially with the dialogue, the funny writing.
It does an amazing thing too, where so you're when you say behind the scenes of an
Yeah.
adventure game, like you are sitting at a computer, you can rotate the computer and look at like things on the side of
Yeah.
it that you will need, I think. But you also you can like take the inventory items and the verbs
Yeah.
out of the game and
Yeah.
use them in like the real world, and then you can take stuff from the real world and just put it in the game. It's so clever.
It's breaking the wall in the most powerful way it can by like letting us play around in this adventure game world with the characters. They just think that this is their life, whereas we're playing an adventure game and we know that that's what this is. So it's very meta.
It's the most effective type of fourth wall breaking because you have power beyond the fourth wall.
Yeah.
You exist beyond the fourth wall, and you can affect what's in the first three, right? Like, that's so smart to me.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll finish it?
Yeah, I'm going to finish it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, report back when you do. I want to know how you feel about the very strange ending.
Let's talk about one of the games that you played then.
Okay, why don't we talk about the Journey Down then?
Okay, yeah. That's a game I really don't know much about, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a game that is, and I don't love when this happens. It is a game that is sold in 3 chapters.
Okay.
You buy the individual chapters. There are games that I have started and never finished because they did that.
Yeah.
Like the Dream Machine, for example, is a really cool mixed medium art and claymation game, like stop motion animation game that was really, really cool. But it sells all 6 of its chapters separately. I got number 1 and 2, I think, for either cheap or free. And then the other chapters aren't that much money, but it's still like, oh, I'm spending $5 for the next hour, and then I'll spend $5 for the next hour, and then I'll spend $6 for the next hour, and like I hate that.
Yeah.
So the Journey Down, I think I got in a bundle, which I'm glad, because each of these chapters is like $15.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
And that's a bummer. But that being said, the Journey Down is a lot of fun. It is a really well-constructed point-and-click adventure game. You know, you're walking around, you're talking to people, you are collecting inventory and solving puzzles, you're sneaking into things and ruining people's lives, you know, just all your standard point-and-click adventure stuff. You play Buana, who is a man in this, it's this like fictionalized Afro-Caribbean sort of environment.
Okay.
Where everybody's face is African masks.
Yeah, it's a very interesting art style, honestly. I'm looking at the Steam page, and it's really cool looking, honestly.
Yeah, it's like hand painted, hand drawn, point and click style backgrounds, and then the characters are like these cute little 3D models with African masks as heads, and they're based on real African masks. Like you can look up the development of this game, and they, you know, the creators cite their sources. They show the masks that these characters are based on, and they're all real. I'm saying African. I know Africa isn't a country, which you know is a big problem and trope when people do that. I just cannot remember the country or culture that the masks came from, so I apologize.
Okay, I got you.
I was a little worried because there are very few games, and we talked about this already in today's episode. There are very few adventure games, unfortunately, with black protagonists. It just happens so rarely. I mean, I have this list of 3,000 some, right? And I think, like, personally, I know about 7.
Yeah.
And this game opens up, and you play a Buana and his friend Keto are to pilots, like tow pilots for hire, and they have like really strong Caribbean accents, and their business is failing because they're both lazy. And there's a bit where I was like, I don't know if I love a stereotype of a Caribbean black character who is too lazy to make his own business work. But he's very charming and very clever, and he really, really wins you over. I'm only in chapter 2, so there's some of this that's still a mystery to me. But at the end of the island, there's like this steep drop into this other sort of misty nautical realm. And the world has an edge that it is like illegal to look over or go near or talk about. And you are trying to save a woman who is clearly interested in this edge and finds a book that, like, I guess your ancestor had held onto. Your ancestor, it's your father, your lost father, and his journal. She comes to you to find, and then you need to protect her from like gangsters that are chasing her. If that sounds confusing to you, it's because it is a little confusing.
Well, it's giving me a very specific vibe. You know what vibe I'm going to say?
No, I don't.
It's giving me Grim Fandango vibes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It kind of sounded like you were retelling some of the story of Grim Fandango.
That's a good point. Yeah, Grim Fandango, you are in a world that seems to have some conspiracy that is built around locking off a section of the world. The world is very unique. It's based on a real Earth culture. Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see it. This definitely would.
Even the taking a different culture and using that in the game, you know.
Yes.
It's very much reminds me of Grim Fandango.
The way that Grim Fandango uses Day of the Dead masks as their character faces.
Yeah.
This game uses
Mexican lore, you know. Sometimes Aztec lore, you know, in Grim.
Yeah. I liked it.
Okay.
As far the puzzles are a little they're standard point and click puzzles, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of doing all your standard tropey point and click puzzle stuff. Like there was nothing in the puzzles that I was like, oh, this is brilliant. But the characters were very charming and fun to be around. And I am still intrigued about the story. I am halfway through chapter 2, and I am going to finish this series. Like I'm excited about it. So
good. I'm glad.
That's the journey down.
I'm excited. And actually, this is a good segue into talking about Voodoo Detective, which was the other game that I was recommended. And should we talk about that now, or would you like to continue with yours?
Oh no, I'm good. Let's talk about Voodoo Detective.
Yeah, let's do that. So this is very much a Rose's game, which is the way I think we should do these suggestions. Is if we want to get the most out of playing them, we should try to assign them to people who would like them. And this is definitely a Rose's game. So when I first looked at it, though, however, I immediately called Matt.
Yes.
I'm like, don't be mad at me, but like, should we pivot? And the reason I asked that is because I'm always very conscious of using culture to in a story like this. So a voodoo detective, a black protagonist that uses voodoo to help him through puzzles. I wanted to know if it was in good faith, honestly, because
particularly, and this is like the journey down too, when it's a bunch of white creators using a black character. And I think we should get into that a little bit, but yeah, I want to hear what.
Yeah. But you know, you kind of convinced me it was in good faith, and keep in mind, you know, one of my favorite games is Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Fathers, and that does have some tone deaf things going on. When you really, really think about it, you know, the black characters in that game are essentially the bad guys. You know, Dr. John is a bad guy, and that was the black character that they had. And he was played by Michael Dorn of Star Trek fame. He was Worf. And that's great. The casting was great. The casting was not the problem. It was not problematic or anything, but just the way things were portrayed. And I'm not saying Gabriel Knight is the worst offender out there,
Right.
but if you really think about it, that it can be a problem, is having your Black characters and the culture that they use as being the villain. So I was concerned, but I played Voodoo Detective, and to be honest, it's kind of the opposite of Gabriel Knight, where now we have a Black character who's playing the detective, set in a world set at not the Caribbean. It's a fictional. Is it a fictional area?
I think it is a fictional area. I think it's supposed to be it's kind of supposed to be it's like an island.
Yeah,
that is sort of inspired by Louisiana.
Yes, just like because Voodoo came over to Louisiana. So I think this is different in that there is a Black protagonist. The characters are majority people of color. They are played by people of color. And I believe the use of the culture, the use of the voodoo religion is more reverent than Gabriel Knight. Even Gabriel Knight had its moments where it's really trying to educate you. You know, Jane Jensen is a writer. She's very much into the history that she puts into her games. So they can be a little you have to be a little studious sometimes with those games. She loves information and compendiums, I found that to be kind of a lighter version in here, where it is talking about things in voodoo in a more educational, respectful way. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate that we had these characters in this story. That being said, I really liked the game. I don't know if I would play it again. Even though I liked it, I'm glad I played it. I feel like the reason I liked it as much as I did is because it was Curse of Monkey Island, for the most part. Really, so many things reminded me of Curse. It's a really interesting mix of Curse of Monkey Island and Grim Fandango, because Voodoo Detective is in fact a detective story. You are trying to figure out why one of your clients, a woman you meet, has amnesia. She seems to have lost her memories. She comes to your office right away. Again, very Grim Fandango. So there is a conspiracy. There is a mystery going on here, and that's very Grim Fandango. I would say it gets kind of dark and adult towards the end.
Yeah.
But also has this fun, whimsical element that's very reminiscent of the Monkey Island games. And I also especially really like that there is some commentary going on here. Voodoo Detective, he doesn't like any of these tourists, because these white tourists and big conglomerates are kind of taking over this island. And it's annoying, right? It's they're kitsching up the culture, as it were. And I liked that. I liked that kind of commentary in the background. That's not what the game is about overall, but I liked that commentary. I liked that the devs were at least cognizant of that. Yeah, again, it's hard to. I don't like talking about games as though they don't have their own personality and they're just based off of these other games. This one's a little tough because it really does remind me of those two LucasArts games. But like I said, it has its own world going on.
Yeah.
Again, mostly people of color, an educational aspect to it, which is nice. Pretty good puzzles. Some of them I thought were a little hard, but to be honest, I kind of dug them. In fact, I would say Voodoo Detective has one of the best UIs, the easiest UIs to play ever in a point and click.
Yeah.
I never misclicked. I always knew what I was doing.
And what factors contributed to that, do you think?
I think it was the simplicity of it. This is not an adventure game where you have a taste button and a look button and a use button and an operate button if you're Gabriel Knight for some reason. So the UI was very, very simple. You click on hotspots and you don't have to look or examine. You get one button. One.
Yeah.
and you can either look at it or examine it. And it's just, it was just very pleasant, to be honest, because sometimes UI in adventure games can be a bit of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Journey Down was the same thing. It was a one-click interface. It seems a lot of point-and-click games are moving to that.
Yes.
I did really like Voodoo Detective. It didn't make a big, lasting impact on me besides the setting and the artwork. Yes. I played this game, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, and I don't much remember the story. I don't remember many of the puzzles, but I do very strongly remember that setting, and I don't think that setting is going to go away from my brain for a long time. And so like you're saying, I don't think it is groundbreaking in any way, but if you're a fan of LucasArts or Revolution point and clicks, and you want another one that is as good, maybe not as good as LucasArts, at least as good as the Revolution games, I think it's worth it. Look,
I do too, very much so.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I thought you might, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I can go either way on stuff. I definitely have my ultra super likes, but there are things that I can be fickle about. But no, highly recommend. It felt like an extension almost of LucasArts games. So in that way, I recommend it.
I want to step back for a second real quick just to correct something from earlier. Earlier I was saying African masks. I track down the actual cultures, because again, I really hate that sort of idea that we just say Africa when it's like 50 different countries and probably hundreds of different cultures, and they're all incredibly different from each other. So it is masks by the Makonde people, who are generally live in Mozambique, and the Chokwe people, who generally live in Angola. So,
thank you for that.
I wanted to go back and say that about the Journey Down. But I also do want to talk to you about Black protagonists in adventure games or video games in general. Yeah. Because that was something we were both, unfortunately, had to be worried about as we went into these games.
Yeah.
In both cases, the development team was white.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I both used Black actors to play the Black characters, which is good. You don't want to give Black roles to white actors, right? There's plenty of incredibly talented Black actors out there willing to be in your games. If you are a person who's making a game and put a Black character and have a white person voice it, you really have to ask yourself why. Why are you doing that?
Yes.
But it's because there's just so few, as far as we know, and if listeners, you guys know of some that we should be aware of, we really want to know about them. There's so few Black developers in adventure games.
It's a very small space.
The thing that I think about is if we are to relegate Black voices in our characters to Black creators, the problem is we're not going to get any Black characters in video games.
Yeah.
And that's worse.
Yeah.
As much as I see the Journey Down and Voodoo Detective, and my first thought is, ooh, I hope they're not being weird.
Yeah.
I hope these bunch of white guys don't do something weird with a Black character. It's still like, I would rather Black characters be in games written by white people than no Black characters be in adventure games at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as they're being voiced by the correct people. Yeah.
Yeah. The only Black developer I know in adventure games is Alex Francois, who did the game The Slaughter. Have you heard of this game?
I have not.
It's on Steam. It's The Slaughter Act 1, so I don't know, and it was in 2016. I don't know that there will be an Act 2 or any, I don't know that it'll keep going. But I guess he released The Slaughter Magdalene in 2021, so maybe he is going to keep going, and that one's free to play. And he's working on a story-rich mystery game that's coming soon. So
that's
hopefully
cool.
So
I'll have to keep an eye on that.
An active game developer, but honestly, that's the only, again, it's the only Black developer I know of in
Yeah.
Adventure games specifically. So if anybody knows anybody else, we would really love you to let us know about who those people are.
Yeah, I'm
and what
extremely
their
open
games
to
are.
that.
Mhm.
Right, that being said,
Want to talk about a white people game made
Yeah,
by
I
white
wanna talk
people?
it's a very white people game, to be honest with you.
No, exactly. One of the whitest games that it's Life is Strange. That's the other game I played. Have you
Yeah,
played Life is
that's
Strange?
an interesting one. I played Life is Strange when it came out, and it did not have a lasting impression on me.
Mhm.
But there is a huge fan base for Life is Strange in general, for the whole franchise. And
Mhm.
I think it's especially interesting to women, or to young women as well, considering the characters in the game, especially the main character, is a young girl. So what I am always very put off by graphics like that, so I had a hard time with it. But what did you think?
Yeah, it's that sort of the same sort of like sketchy art style turned into 3D that you see in like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like painterly art style that then is converted to 3D. So sometimes at weird there'll be an angle where somebody's hair just doesn't look like hair; it looks like noodles hanging off their head.
Sure, yeah, sure.
But when you're not seeing one of those weird angles, I think it does look beautiful. There are moments in this game that are just breathtakingly pretty, especially when you're looking at it's like panoramas, right, when it's showing a specifically framed shot, or it's showing like characters against a large beautiful natural background.
Yeah.
So Life is Strange is one of these choices matter games. I'm going to say puzzles aren't the focus, but that's actually one of the problems. The puzzles are one of the problems in the game. But you play a young girl named Max Caulfield, who has just been sent. She just moved back home to her little northwestern town because for some reason, this tiny little northwestern town that she grew up in also has a very famous art academy there.
Mhm.
So as a high school senior, she's enrolling in this art academy, and she's a photography student. And very early on, she witnesses something very dramatic and traumatic. And she finds she can rewind time, which is an incredibly interesting choice for a choices matter, like a choose your own adventure game.
Yeah.
Because
Very
you get to
kind of a Prince of Persia type of mechanic.
Right. You get to try, say, a dialogue option, and if they're like, why the fuck would you say that to me? You're the worst person in the world. You just rewind it.
Yeah.
And try a different dialogue option. And sometimes that is the key forward, right? Like there's a scene really early on, right after you discover your powers, where you're still trying to figure out if they're real or not. And your professor asks you a question about photography. You don't know the answer. You get embarrassed by giving the wrong answer. Now all of a sudden you know the answer because he just corrected you. So you rewind time, answer the question again. And it's full of stuff like that. And sometimes those things are much more consequential. Like, do you shoot a gun at somebody or not? And I've played this game for about 6 hours, and I'm only in chapter 2. It's a long game.
Yeah, it is a long game. Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I think the story is interesting. I like the characters. There's some problems that I'm having with it. Number one is the puzzles.
Yeah.
But the puzzles where you have to rewind time and make the right choices, or give somebody a new prompt now that you have new information. I like those. Those are great. I think that's brilliant. I would love to see more of that. The shit I hate is these point and click style puzzles that they litter throughout the game, almost as if they feel like they have to have them there.
Yeah, I felt that way too with the game. It almost, to me, sometimes I think about Life is Strange and I'm like, does this have an identity crisis? where it belongs in the genre. And it's not that games can't, mix up mechanics.
Mhm.
I love games that have multiple mechanics. I would argue that Stardew Valley has multiple mechanics in it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know. It's different when you feel like you're shoehorning in a mechanic just to have it, just to say that you have this mechanic.
Yeah, so I think that's the problem. I don't think there's a reason for it. Like, I think
Yeah.
mechanics need to have a purpose, and I don't think they fit into the game's themes. I don't think they feel good. I think they
Yeah.
just slow it down. And a lot of stuff slows it down. Like, as you go between scenes, you can walk up and look at everything, talk to everyone, and
Yeah.
most of it is inconsequential.
Yeah.
Like, there was a scene that I just had where I was going to meet my friend at the diner, and for some reason I could walk up and down the street and just talk to like random people standing on the street, and none of them said anything interesting. Walking through the diner, I could talk to everybody in the diner, and none of them gave me any new insights into the
Right.
world, into the characters, into the story. It was just like, why am I doing this? And because I am the way I am, I feel like I need to do it all. I feel like I need to experience the whole thing, and I've got to try to get over that in this game and just move towards my objectives.
Yeah, you just have to do the objectives.
Because there's so much in this game that is just unnecessary, and it feels like the game it feels like the developers were worried they didn't have enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're just padding it out.
It's almost like too close to real life, like you don't go outside and look at everything and talk to every person. You have to almost treat yourself like you're just a person going to the diner. You're not going to stop in the street and talk to Joe, your neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and
like
because of that, we grew up on adventure games where there's always like an interesting side character, or if it's there, it must be interactable.
Yeah.
But yeah, this feels more like padding.
And it doesn't affect that, like, it has no consequences, right? Like, Max Caulfield is supposed to be a shy and aloof kid, and that's why she's not popular in the game. That's why people mock her, is because she seems like a disaffected hipster.
Yeah.
And a disaffected hipster doesn't walk up to every single person they see and start chatting with them.
Right.
And
right.
So you can choose not to do that and play by the character, but if you do it, the game doesn't react to that. The next time you see somebody, they're like, there's Max, always with her head down, not talking to anybody, taking pictures. I'm like, I've talked to everybody. I've talked to everybody.
I do think that it's a very, like, almost like a young person type of a game. And when I say young person, I mean like I would have probably liked this game, considering the characters were like teenagers. I would have liked this game as an adolescent then. Because sometimes we like to watch things, we like to play things where we are the younger person and the characters are a little bit older, so we can put ourselves in that situation. It very much feels like a teen drama to me, and maybe that's why.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't connect with it.
Here's a reason I'm going to disagree with that. I think you are right broadly, but I think there's a problem with how this game relates to young people too, and that was another thing I wanted to talk about. Is there are some lines in this game that are just absurd. Here, at one point, somebody asks if you want to call the Wambulance. At some point, Max calls herself a noob. At some point, somebody says smiley face out loud. The bully tells you to go fuck yourselfie.
Yeah, it's almost taking a little bit too much pop culture to where it's cringe. It's like, my dad is passed, but let's say my dad was here and he was talking like that. I'd be like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's clearly made by old people trying to relate to kids. There's a point where the punk girl, your punk friend, she keeps putting on punk music, and it is just like a singer-songwriter being a little emo. Being like playing an electric guitar while he sings his sad, gentle songs rather than... And it's like, that's not you're not playing punk music. There's nothing punk about this. And
Sure.
she's like, this is what punks listen to. What? And at one point she's like, you go to meet her at the diner and she's like, oh man, I can't wait to eat. I'm hungry like the wolf. Nobody's making references to Hungry Like the Wolf. Like a Duran Duran reference? Are you sure?
I mean, I'm making those references, but I'm old.
It's that. I mean, that's my. So those are my biggest problems with it. Like,
yeah,
the
you're
puzzles,
definitely not alone with the dialogue and how it's written. I think even people who really like the game would admit that it's a little cringe.
Yeah, it's definitely cringe. And then again, the puzzles are just kind of frustrating. There was a puzzle I just did where it was like find 5. You're in a junkyard. And it's like find 5 bottles.
Yeah.
Why? Why do I gotta go? I gotta go find 5 bottles. This is gonna enrich my experience. It was so okay. I'm talking a lot of shit. I like this game. I'm going to finish this game. I'm going to spend the 20 hours or whatever playing this game.
Yeah.
Because I am really intrigued by the story. I do like the characters, even though some of them are absolutely fucking absurd.
Yeah.
Again, there's no punk that acts like Chloe. If you like these kind of games, and I have played other Don't Nod games. I played Tell Me Why, and I think it was actually a much tighter experience. It still had some of these problems, but Tell Me Why was actually, I feel like, a lot better of a game than this. But this rewind time mechanic is so brilliant.
Yeah, I like that mechanic too.
That I and it feels good. You just like hold both triggers in on the controller, and there's like a little swirl in the top left corner that just like unravels, and like that's so smart. It's very smart. I bet. Also, I wonder how you felt about this game. You're a big Twin Peaks fan, right?
I am.
Do you get Twin Peaks vibes from this game at all, or not really?
I can see why people get Twin Peaks vibes for sure, but I think Twin Peaks is even more in the abstract realm.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks knows exactly what it is. I think even David Lynch would say it's kind of a drama, like almost a soap opera.
Okay.
But it has to be done with some kind of artful purpose. And I feel like even though I get, like I said, drama, or like a teen drama before, maybe that's where it's different to me, because Twin Peaks had a lot of adult characters, making it less of a teen drama and more of a mystery, a murder mystery. And then it gets very, very, very abstract. So I can see where people are coming from. I can see getting the vibe from that, but this is like the less mature version of that.
Okay. There is, in fact, a character who has a license plate that is TWNPKS in this game. So this game really wants to be compared to Twin Peaks. There also is a missing girl in this game, and that's another weird thing. Nobody seems to fucking care at all. Nobody seems to care. Like, there's 2 characters that care a lot. Okay, maybe like 3 characters that care a lot, and nobody else cares even a little bit. And that is so strange to me.
Well, life is strange.
Okay, so those are our games. Thank you guys so much for recommending them. It sounds like we enjoyed all of them.
I think it's safe to say that we did, for sure.
So we're gonna, our next Q&A episode that we have, we'll collect a few more from y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job, everybody. You're
good job. Good job, Matt.
You're doing good. Oh, good job, Roses.
We played the games.
All right, pat ourselves on the back.
Before we continue, I want to take us out, and I don't mean like club us over the head. I mean, before we go into our next segment, I want to just tell everybody that we're a part of the Adventure Game Hotspot Network. Please check out the website. There's all kinds of adventure game content over there, and we're happy to partner with them. Or you could email us at, of course, mattandroses@gmail.com. And we have some special guests for our next segment. So I'm going to put on the swanks and I will meet everyone for our last segment.
Hey, everyone. Good news. We brought Danny and Bill back for this final segment.
We're back.
Because we didn't get to do it last week.
I was going to ask whether or not we were in universe the same episode or whether we were back. But
it is a new episode. You've been gone for an entire week plus about an hour.
Years.
We don't have that much time, and you were just talking about Codename ICEMAN. So before we start ranking every adventure game ever, I need to hear what this experience you guys have had is.
Okay.
So last time you two gave us what I would say is a little teaser, a little taunter, a little challenge of, hey, why don't you play this one?
Yeah, it certainly was not. It was not a recommendation. It was more like a challenge.
I believe, Roses, you said it was your favorite game, which seems crazy.
Oh, that's so it's so unlike me. But I mean, if I said it, it must be true.
I think that the whole game is really put into context by what happened right at the beginning. Sitting on a beach, shirtless, sunbaking, and the first thing we decided to do was stand up, put on shirt, and then read the newspaper. But in order to read the newspaper, you have to sit down and take off your shirt again.
Yeah, you can't read it. Can't read it standing up. Look, it's been such a weird, okay, so for anyone who needs a little bit of Iceman context, they lure you in by saying you're a secret agent, here's a sub, you're an operative, and then the entire first act is welcome to a Tahitian beach with hot natives and cool, sexy babes.
Oh, God.
And you're like, what is going on? And then, the only things that you do, there's two categories of why Codename Iceman is bad. Is that the only things you can do is, I wouldn't even say seduce women, just sort of go up to interact with women in strange ways.
Most of whom ignore you.
Most
as
of whom
well they should.
Used to talk.
Yeah.
I sat down next to a woman who said, why don't you buy me a Mai Tai? I said, buy a Mai Tai. And the game said, you're not close enough. And I went, what are you talking about? So I wandered around for 20 minutes trying to get close enough to buy a Mai Tai. No. That doesn't matter. What you're meant to do is to say, buy drink, and then you automatically buy her a Mai Tai. And then she says, why don't you buy me a Mai Tai? And you say, didn't I just do that? And she says, why don't you buy me a Mai Tai? So then you buy yourself a Mai Tai, which you are close enough to buy your own. You're not close enough to buy one for her. And then you drink enough that she gets so drunk that they have to drag her out.
But make sure you don't drink so much that you pass out, because that'll end the game.
Yes, if you drink too much, you pass out. And then now that she's gone, unrelated to anything, you've unlocked the capacity to walk up to a different woman and buy her champagne.
You guys, I know this is going to be hard for you to understand at this point. You are at the good part. You will.
Yeah, it's true.
It's worth it for the stories that we're telling now.
We just got to the Pentagon.
A while later in this game, you will wish you were still on this beach.
True.
Having bad interactions with women.
This
game gets so much worse. You haven't even got to the luck-based gambling game that you have to win.
Okay,
to me, this turns into a submarine simulator, and it teases you with this Leisure Suit Larry-esque beginning, and then all of a sudden you have to buy the manual, learn how to drive a submarine. It is the most boring thing I've ever done.
Find the manual so that we could learn how to give CPR to a woman on a beach.
So I take it they've used more than one. Good to know.
Which I thought, I'm shocked it happens again, because I thought that was going to be
this was just the early game piracy.
It's the DRM thing, right? It's how do we know you bought the game? Well, you have to give a woman CPR.
Oh my God.
It's an unbelievable game. Okay. As much as I want to talk about Codename Iceman for fucking ever, because it's the wildest thing.
We'll give you regular updates as we get
we'll let
further.
you know how we're going.
Please. All right. This segment is a segment in which we're trying to rank every adventure game ever. I have a list of almost 4,000 adventure games here. that have been released throughout time. It's a little over 3,000, sorry. And I use a random number generator to pick 5 of them, again, at random, and we put them on a list, whether we've played them or not, of the best adventure games of all time.
I've played one of them.
I know, right. Okay, I am adding a new wrinkle as of this episode where we have the opportunity to, if we have not played it and we don't feel like we can judge it from screenshots, we can skip one per episode. So, all right. So, just to give you guys context, here's our list as of now.
Oh boy.
The 21 best adventure games of all time. Number 1, Portal. Not bad, right?
Okay.
Number 2, Fran Bow.
All right.
3, Papers, Please. Scratches. Amnesia Rebirth. Amos Green's Final Repose.
Okay.
Byzantine the Betrayal. The Murder She Wrote video game.
Could be great.
Legend of Hand. Ben Jordan Paranormal Investigator Case 7, The Cardinal Sins. We're at number 10. Okay. Hell, a cyberpunk thriller. Dark Grim Mariupolis. Krabat and the Secret of the Sorbian King. Again, Elena Displaced Reality. Number 16, Minecraft Story Mode.
All right, sure.
Oh, that's higher than I remembered.
We'll bump it down a little.
Batman Partners in Peril. Blue Force, The Fan, which appears to be an FMV game where you just torture a woman. Wild West, The Steel Assassin, and the worst adventure game of all time, Weird Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. Are you guys ready to add 5 new games to this list?
Absolutely.
I'm on board.
Okay. Our first one, I pulled these up last episode, so I'm not going to have to search for them. The first one, 1635, is Deponia Doomsday.
Oh, Deponia.
Have you guys played the Deponia games?
I know of it, but mostly through like daily game guessing games. I'm like, oh, Deponia's popped up again. But I feel like the first Deponia people like, right? Like Deponia's good. I want to say Deponia's good. I don't know.
Okay,
maybe it's not.
Hang on, Matt.
It looks like it looks like a point and click game made by Penny Arcade.
It really, really does. Yeah.
Oh.
Matt, I know that you... Here's the thing, though, Matt.
Yes.
I know that you don't like the tone of these games very much, right? Like, I'm correct in that, right?
Yes.
But this needs to not be in the mediocre section. So, like, guys, we have, like, a mediocre section, and then a below mediocre, and then above mediocre.
What we feel like is Hell, a cyberpunk thriller, Dark Grim Mariupolis, Krabat and the Secret of the Sorbian King, again, Elena Displaced Reality, and Minecraft Story Mode. To us, that's our mediocre block, right?
Sure.
That's a group of games that aren't doing anything all that interesting. They're just doing what other games have already done. So when we make our decisions, it's like, oh, is it above the mediocre block or is it below?
This is above mediocre.
I think it's barely, because the problem. Okay, so all the Deponia games are pretty annoying. Like, that's my biggest problem with them, right? Like and a lot of people will say, oh, you're not supposed to like the main character, but you're supposed to be able to tolerate them for like an entire game that you have to spend with them. And there's sometimes where there's like racism in the games or sexism that does not just come from like a criticism of the main character, right? Like, it's just the game's perspective on women or the game's perspective on trans people or black people, right? And that is a thing that bums me the fuck out.
I know this is probably taken out of context. I have found a screenshot where the main character is visibly cringing in fear away from just a very happy looking black man.
There are
I don't think it's an accurate representation, but it really just looks like he's going, oh my god, gotta get out of here.
3 black characters in the game, and one you sell into slavery. So
God!
Yeah, so the Deponia games are rough. This game specifically is after the trilogy wrapped up, and they did this really meta game about how everybody wanted a sequel, and there was no sequel to give. So it was like this really convoluted time travel game. Some people loved it, some people didn't. So
that, for me, because I think it's always a good sign, like, that Bill and Danny at least knew of this game, like it was familiar. So that's always a good sign, I think. But because you said that, now it's back into mediocre to me. I think maybe the other Deponia games.
You've convinced
the other
me.
Deponia games are the racist ones, though. This one does not have the racism that the other ones do.
Interesting. See, I saw a couple of screen grabs, and I was into the art style. If not the characters themselves, the backgrounds, the sets, they made me happy inside. But you do make a solid argument.
The girl that you're trying to win the entire game, like that's his whole motivation, is to seduce a girl and make himself seem like a good guy so that she'll date him. Her name is Goal. Goal. Goal.
Oh boy.
Oh.
When did these come out? It's very like 2000.
This is
right?
so conflicting. Do I find that funny, or like is that my sort of humor or not?
So
Matt, since you seem to have, I think, Matt, that you need to do do the final rating on this.
Because you clearly
know
get
so much about it.
I apologize. Yeah, this is going to go
Just do it.
It's going to go above the mediocre block, I think, but it's going to go below everything else. So
fair.
I even think it's going to go below. I think it's going to go below Darkrim Mariupolis, above Krabat and the Secret of the Scorpion King.
I'm fine with that.
All right.
You've made a solid argument.
Does anybody have any problem with that?
No, I'm very happy.
I've just looked up a screenshot for Darkrim Mariupolis, and I don't think it should be above it. Look, this looks great. I think it's
it did. That's what we thought. It looked kind of cool. Okay, next game, and remember, you guys can skip one. So just as we go on, keep that in mind. Okay, next game is number 2982, Wavetale from 2022.
Wavetale. Okay, I'm looking it up.
I don't know this game. It looks kind of pretty.
Okay, so Wavetale as in telling a story, not like a cat's tail that I looked up. Well, this needs to go above mediocre. This looks
definitely. This looks good.
Beloved. It looks beautiful. It looks adventure-y. Like sometimes, so guys, like I don't know if you heard of the website Home of the Underdog back in the day, but it's where I used to go to like download adventure games, and basically I would look at the screen cap and see if it's something that I like. And I know that's kind of judging a book by its cover, but now when we're rating these, Matt, I always think like if I found this on Home of the Underdogs,
would I download it? Second, yeah,
and I would buy this, download this game just based on the images.
Yeah, what are you guys thinking?
I honestly think that like I will trust good reviews enough to give something a try. Honestly, there are some things about the art style that make me go, oh yeah, this isn't so much my instinct. I found a great screenshot where the main character just looks like a me person. That's
true.
Their eyebrows are doing a lot of work, and their mouth shape.
And the mouth is just a tiny little line. Okay, what do you guys think? Definitely above the mediocre line, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
I think sure.
Where does it go? Do you think it goes above or below Byzantine the Betrayal, which is an educational FMV game?
It goes
from
above that,
the Discovery
Matt.
Channel. Okay.
Yeah, it goes above
okay,
that.
then I'm going to jump up a little bit. Above or below Amnesia?
Below.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Okay, I believe.
Just because Amnesia is so beloved, I have a hard time putting things like above.
But which Amnesia was it?
Rebirth, the newest one.
No one likes that. Everyone likes the new games.
No,
it's not the original Amnesia. No, that's fine.
I'm good with Amnesia being higher.
Okay, then above or below the Carol Reed game, Amos Green's Final Repose.
Come on!
Okay, then it's Wavetale is our new number. Actually... Okay.
None of them has a better title than this one. I have not played Amos Green, but I know of Amos Green.
Wavetale is our new number 6. Okay, this next game, we're gonna have to speed along. 931, Ben There, Dan That, one of the Ben and Dan games. Has anyone played it?
I've played a little bit of it.
It is a funny and LucasArts inspired game. it's wild. We're getting like not absurd games today.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I do like this game. I think because it came out in 2008, it's looking a little crude to me now, because I know that Ben and Dan went on to do such amazing looking games.
Yeah. This
so
is
maybe
their,
it's a little aged, you know?
This is their early work.
That's it.
Even on Steam, it's bundled
If I
with
found
time
this
elements, yeah.
in like a Flash window in 2008, I would not have been surprised, and I think I would have fallen in love with it.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, they do a lot more experimental stuff as they go on. This game is just like kind of a straightforward Day of the Tentacle kind of inspired game. A little funnier than your average AGS game, but...
Well, then, I'm proud of them. I think that it should go high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stick it right at the top.
Right at the top. Do we want to...
What, above Portal?
Above Portal.
Above
Jesus Christ. Who needs Portal when you got Ben there and that?
All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say this goes near Wavetale. What do you guys think? Or do you think it goes above Amnesia?
You know what? Here's my argument, and maybe you guys will disagree, but when I look at this game versus Amnesia, Ben There, Dan, that screams adventure game to me, whereas Amnesia, but also it screams survival horror. So I'm going off of that. I think Ben There, Dan, that is a more accurate adventure game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Stick it above Amnesia.
I like that. It is now the 5th best adventure game of all time. Ben There, Dan That. All right.
Yeah, I can't believe all these games are overtaking Amos Green's Final Repose.
Okay, next game. A Whisper in the Twilight, Chapter 1.
Oh, Lord.
From
Okay, I gotta look this one up.
23. It looks like a Myst clone, sort of.
Bottom.
Remember, we can skip. I don't know. There's some dialogue, it looks like.
Did anyone else other than us in the world play The Eyes of Ara?
No.
I don't think it doesn't sound familiar.
Indie puzzle game, and this is kind of reminding me of Eyes of Ara.
I get what you mean.
And it was very like you're on an island, classic like Myst. You're on an island.
You have to investigate an unusual house that people used to live in.
And there's weird little things floating around, and you just go around solving puzzles. And it was good fun. We played it
until the end, where we started to get mad at us.
Yeah, you got a little mad at the end. Puzzle games are always hard to end because they're like, now we're going to give you our most complicated puzzle. And you're like, yeah, but now it's just a bit too much, man. What are you doing? It reminds me of that.
And I don't like those kind of puzzles. You know me, Matt. I see these kind of games and I'm like, no.
Yeah. And it's Chapter 1 is the other problem I'm having.
So we'd be playing it unfulfilled, presumably.
Exactly. Yeah. Granted, it just came out last year.
Counterpoint. Okay. I found a little dog.
Yeah, have you seen
There's a little dog in it?
There's a little dog. He's like a creepy little dog. He's like a little creepy monster dog.
I'm going to say it goes... all right, I have a plan, but I feel like Roses is going to argue lower. I would say between Darkgrim, Mariopolis, and Deponia, Doomsday.
I'm not against that.
It feels better than mediocre, but it feels kind of mediocre.
Without having a single puzzle to judge it off.
Because we might start to play it, do a puzzle, and be like, oh, this person's really bad at making puzzles.
That's true.
That sometimes happens. But maybe not. Maybe they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, this last one, this could be the last one, or we could skip it, and there could be another last one. We'll see. This game is number 265, an early one. It's
early.
It's from 1996. It is called 1994. I'm sorry. Astronomica: The Quest for the Edge of the Universe.
I love it already. Put it at the top.
It is
above Portal.
An educational game made by HyperQuest for Macintosh and Windows 3.x.
Oh, this looks amazing.
FMV? Oh, there's an FMV lady sitting on a chair.
There's an FMV lady who looks very uncomfortable on myabandonedware.com.
Yeah, of course she looks uncomfortable. She's going to space. You're going to learn why she's so uncomfortable.
Look at these people who are the FMVers in this game.
They're just people.
Henry VIII? I don't...
Whoa, okay. Oh my god, yeah, all right. So there is a
puzzle in it?
There's a screen that has like one of these weird what do you call it? Like these weird early 3D interfaces. And below is a bunch of what look like historical characters. In like a so there's a time machine.
I truly can't tell if that's what it's meant to be, but
Hey, look, it's got 5 out of 5 based on the 3 votes on abandonware.com.
Critical reception for Astronomica has been mixed, with many outlets criticizing its difficulty of gameplay. Entertainment Weekly rated the game C+.
Hey, Entertainment Weekly, get good.
I think I found a screenshot where you might be able to make lightning happen on Jupiter.
There's just little windows. This is amazing. This just teaches me about space.
I love these kind of games. I just don't like to really play them so much.
I like
there's like a nostalgia factor.
Much like ICEMAN, they are good for the stories that you come out with afterwards.
I would like to I would like to try and describe the screenshots as I get through them on abandonware.com, right? There's the opening scene, there's the opening credits where it says the name of the game. There's the opening menu where I have the option to go to my reference encyclopedia. Fantastic. There is a small window that is just like a Windows window that I can minus away. That is my it looks like
this is the Encyclopedia
Britannica in 1994.
Riveting.
Then there is a man who's clearly a retired cop, one day from retirement,
stuck in a spaceship now,
and suddenly he's on a spaceship and he doesn't know what to do. He is sitting behind a seat where he exists only from the shoulders up somehow. and really looks like he's like getting too old for this. And then there's an uncomfortable woman on a chair.
Yeah.
And then some point and click adventures. But I don't know why there's an old cop.
I'm watching some videos, and it is one of those like still slideshow kind of games where you have to click the edge of the screen to get to the next place. And all the puzzles look very self-contained. I see the Jupiter lightning thing.
You know where I'm tempted to put this, Matt?
It's got me giving me a kind of like almost like a weird Doctor or what were this name? The games Island of Dr. Brain games.
Okay.
Okay.
Like a weird
I'm
version
tempted
of that.
though.
Okay.
I think this should kind of go. Sorry, guys. I think this should kind of go in the bad section, but higher up on the bad section because we're having a good time talking about it.
But according to Wikipedia, the main character is a girl because they specifically thought young girls were being left out of video games.
Wow!
Put it a little higher, then.
Here's what I'll say. The long play on YouTube has several instances where they go back to Windows and have to reopen the game.
Oh, boy.
I've also found a screenshot of a person with no pants climbing through a small window.
All right.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like,
up, down, up, down.
Holy cow! Yeah, where does this go? Okay.
I've also found a list. Apparently, there's a list of games like Astronomica, and it's listing Garena Free Fire, the Fallout clone on the iPad. So I don't know. Not Fallout. Not Fallout clone. Fortnite clone on iPad.
Fortnite clone. Okay, so it's very much like...
It's also invented the Battle Royale genre, so...
I think this is my favorite name.
This is my favorite game.
Stick it where you want. Maybe in the mediocre, though. Come on. It's doing its best.
It's had so many highs and lows, it feels like it's averaging out.
It's almost like it's breaking up the mediocre. Like, it's not mediocre, but it belongs among them somehow, right?
What's near the bottom of the mediocre list? What do we have in there?
Minecraft story mode.
This is better than Minecraft story mode.
And Elena Displaced Reality. It's gotta be above those.
Okay.
And then again, which we don't know what that is.
I don't know about again, but I would be tempted to put it above Minecraft.
Put it above Minecraft.
Yeah. Just the story mode, not Minecraft as a game.
Not above Elena Displaced Reality, though.
No, that one intrigues me.
Nah, look, she's reality.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
All right.
Quality.
That is our new number 20. We have 26 games on our list, and I will save this last one for our next playthrough.
I feel very inspired
because the next one was going to be one of those ones where it was all of you guys were going to be like, I've never heard of this game, and I was going to be like, I have played it and reviewed it for a website.
Oh, nice.
But you'll have to tune in next week, everybody, to find out what it is.
I'm excited.
Well, Bill and Danny, thank you guys so much for coming on and helping us rank every adventure game ever.
Our
We'll
contributions
coming
were
back.
essential.
We will
Yeah.
get there. We will get there.
I mean, honestly, you guys bumped up Astronomica from where I was gonna put it. So
Yeah, we saved Astronomica. If you're
You
the
s-
developer
you
of
saved
Astronomica
it.
and you're listening to this, I expect a muffin basket in the mail.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I know you guys have got to get going, but we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Thank you so
for having us
much.
All right, bye, guys.
bye.
Roses,
Yes,
it's been a lovely time here with you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
It's been a lovely time with Bill and Danny. It's been a lovely time with our games.
Yes, it has. Are you going somewhere with this, or are you just
No, I'm just giving you space. I'm just giving you space to exist in for to inspire you
Oh,
at the end of our episode.
I am very inspired. You know why I'm inspired?
Why?
Because podcast is art.
Wow, that's really deep.
I know, I'm so profound.
I mean, art is also suffer though, so be careful.